What's up, all you duelists out there? ND here, and today I'm going to be teaching you all about the mechanics of Pendulum Summoning and how Pendulum decks work. Now, this video is mainly for the new-coming players or returning players who are just really confused about the whole Pendulum mechanic or just completely lost on it. Don't worry, when I first got into this, I was like, what the heck is this whole Pendulum thing? And yeah, it took me a while to understand, but like, once you actually understand it, it's actually very simple. Don't be afraid of all that little stuff. The reason it took me so long to understand is because like no one really showed me how to do it. I just kind of had to figure it out on my own, but that's what I'm here to prevent you from like stumbling along the way and just giving you a clear, simple explanation of it, and just to show you that it's actually very simple once you know all about it. So first of all, when it comes to any pendulum, you need your scales. Now, for example, right here, again, I'm using my Odd Eyes Dark Magician. So this is going to be using Dragon Pulse Magician. As you can see right here, this has a scale of 1. And the Dragon Pit Magician has a scale of 8. So what you would do is you would set them in the pendulum scales, something like this. And thing to note quickly is that like once you do them like that, set the scales, they do not count as monsters, but they count as spell cards. So as you saw from there, that has this pendulum scale of 1 and it has a pendulum scale of 8. So what that allows you to do is that you get special summon from your hand as many monsters as you could to fill up the field whose levels are between those. So since those numbers are level 8, you can summon monsters from levels 2 to level 7 just like that. Boom. Very powerful, I know. And with these kind of attacks, you generally want to go second just so you can get that extra card draw and so you could possibly deal lots of damage. If you want to go OTK, one turn kill for those you don't know, or just kind of a control thing. Pendulums really specialize and ending the game in one turn, but they do have many other purposes as well. Now let's say you end up going first instead of second. Generally you want to go second, but just in case, let's give an example here. Say you have like 2 level 6 monsters that you can special from your hand, but you can't special anything else. What you could do is here you would go into an Xyz play. For just an example, Naruto the Moral Leader. Don't know why I confused that for a second. Forgive me, guys, but this is just an example. You work around what levels you have present. So, say if it was a level 4s you had, then Abyss Duel would be a good one. Level 7, you would go into Red Eyes Flare Metal on your first turn. And let's just say for a quick second that you did not have stuff like that, but instead you had a tuner monster along with those. Get those up here. So yeah, just for example purposes, let's just say you have a tuner monster and this. But seeing how this is a level 1, you can't pendulum summon this. However, that does not get rid of your normal summon for the turn. So you can normal summon a tuner, pendulum summon something like this, Dark Magician Girl level 6 for example, and then you could synchro right then into something. Now, again, this is just an example. This isn't exactly the best defensive play, but if you get stuck on that, it's something. It's really depending on what you're running. So, there's all that for you. And let's talk about more offensive for a second here. Say you draw your card for the turn, and you get, say, 3 monsters. Now with this, there's a whole lot you could do. Now you know what? Yeah, I'm going to show you guys like the craziest thing you could do here. Say you have a tuner along with these 3 monsters. So you could go into a synchro play right off the bat. So right here, level 8. And with these, you can exceed right away to a whole bunch of different things. Like, I'm just using level 7s and rank 7 as an example. But again, it can be anything that you have the levels or extra deck for. So there's just lots of possibilities here. And then you can just go for either, if you're trying to go for control, just go for aggro, OTK, just anything you're trying to do. Pendulums, as long as you build it around it, it can generally get it done. Now, as powerful as this can be, every single deck has a weakness. And this is absolutely no exception. Let's say you have your scale set up here. Okay, right here, let's say you have your scales. Say your opponent has a back row card here. You know, I'm just gonna All right, just gonna get rid of those just for sake of room on the camera. And let's say you go for a Pendulum Summon. Let's say this is one heck of a summon, and you're able to completely fill up the board. Oh, I'm sorry. Get those closer here so you all can see. Yeah, let's just say you're able to get all that. And let's say your opponent plays a bottomless trap hole on you. Now, right along here, this is where grammar is very important in the game. See where it says destroy that monster? And with an S there, and it allows you to banish them? Yeah, because of that little S there, that means when these all get summoned and the bottomless gets played, all of these get banished. Like, they all get affected by it. So, and even worse, worse than that, say if they played a solemn card or anything that would negate a summon. Normally, when pendulum monsters are destroyed, they go to the extra deck face up instead of the graveyard. But since this is canceling out the summon, they would go directly to the graveyard and not to the extra deck, which can be pretty scary. So that's why when it comes to any pendulum deck, running things that get rid of back row is absolutely essential. Like, say, Mystical Space Typhoon, for example, or the new Twin Twisters card we got from Breakers of Shadow. Or if you're having to run a Magician deck similar to this, you have Dragon Pit to get rid of back row. So yeah, any pendulum deck, you have to run lots and lots of things to get rid of the back row, or else it could be big, big trouble. Because most pendulum decks are sort of a glass cannon. Very, very powerful, but like the slightest little thing your opponent can do to disrupt it just throws everything off. All right, so let's get all those away. And another problem is, since these are considered trap cards, not trap cards, spell cards, stuff like, say, Twin Twisters would be able to destroy these and send them face up to the extra deck. Which, if you have more scales, you could just go right back to Pendulum Summoning them, but losing your scales is always a bit of a pain. All right, now we're going to talk about specific ways that people can counter pendulum cards. I already showed you the bottomless and the solemn cards. But there is also other things that are even scarier. There is a trap card we have right now known as Anti-Spell Fragrance, which put it up right there for you all to read it. It basically says how both players must set spell cards before activating them, and they can't activate them for that turn. What that means is these are spell cards when you put them here, and you cannot set pendulum. So as long as a card like this is on the field, you are not able to even set your scales whatsoever. So there's a lot of things that you need to be looking out for if you're trying to run a pendulum deck, but it is possible to get around them. Put that to the side. All right. Now there is one more thing I do want to talk to you about when it comes to pendulum decks. Now I'm just going to give you a quick example of what a typical hand can look like for a pendulum deck. Now again, even though I am using the Odd Eyes Dark Magician I have built, I'm not really going to go into too much detail with this. I'll save that for when I do the deck profile list, but for right now, I'm just going to be... This is more or less just to explain how pendulums are in general, not so much this specific deck. So you would shuffle, opponent would cut, and you would draw your 5 cards. And now let's say you go second, because with most pendulum decks, that's what you want to end up doing. So you draw your card for the turn, and you saw me shuffle this, and there's like a lot you can do here. First of all, you could set a Sky Iris there. Set your Scales of Wisdom Eye and Dragon Pit. Wisdom Eye's effect goes off to where you can destroy him and replace him with another scale. And the scale I would go for example purposes, would be the Dragon Pulse, just to have that 1 and 8 scale side by side. Shuffle up the deck. Set it down, have your opponent cut it. And then, just a little idea. For this particular deck, you can normal summon a Noble Dragon. Use Skyra's effect, destroys, gets sent to the extra deck. Lets you search on Odd Eyes card. And again, this is all just like an example. But this is like really the only Pendulum deck I had to show an example for at the moment. So forgive me if not everything makes sense here, but I promise I will do the best I can. All right, so just shuffle that. Have your opponent cut once again. And if you are running something like Dragon Pit, you can use its effect if there is a back row to discard one, then to destroy it, and then you can Pendulum Summon. And not just from your hand, but from face up in your extra deck as well. Now, I know normally you would use Dragon Pit to discard Noble Dragon instead of the Odd Eyes, but again, this is just an example. And already right here, there are a ton of things you can do with this. Your turn is nowhere near over once this starts. So with this, you would do a Synchro play, send those two away, and to get out a level 7 Synchro monster, Meteor Burst, use the Meteor Burst effect, special summon one of your scales. You could overlay those two to make a rank 7. Whether you want to go rank 7 for a big eye. It's a lot more. You can go Flare Metal. Odd Eyes Absolute for more of a defensive play. Or if you're trying to go for a kill, Ebon Illusion for this particular deck. So yeah, just from that one turn, you can have game right then there. So yeah, a lot of people like to complain on how pendulums are broken and overpowered, which they are powerful, but at the same time, it's almost as risky to use them as it is to play them. Like, the risks even out the benefits, because these decks are incredibly easy to cancel out if you don't know what you're doing. So, and say your opponent does have a lot of back row and you don't have any ways to get rid of it. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you have the Oath Dragon Scale 2 there. And for explanation purposes, let's say you have Time Gazer here. No way to get rid of back row whatsoever. And let's say for all intents and purposes that they, unfortunately for you, do have a Solemn Warning set and ready. So let's put that there. If you see something like this, just like a bunch of back row and you can't really do anything about it, a safe thing to do would be to Pendulum Summon as few monsters as possible, because you don't want to just not Pendulum Summon anything and not have anything to block attacks for you and just risk you losing the game right then and there by losing life points. So, yeah, let's just say you had just the one Odd Eyes in your hand. What you would do is, like, you could either set that in defense mode or set up in attack mode. Now, usually they do not want to waste their one trap card on just one monster. Sometimes they might, but sometimes they may not, because they're expecting to use it where it really matters on a whole bunch of monsters at once. So that is always a chance you're going to have to take. But again, it is a chance, unlike if you just Pendulum Summon everything at once and there's no chance. They're going to use that card to either cancel a summon or banish everything. So, and that's going to be much more of a pain than just losing one. So, yeah, say they just want to activate the Solemn. You do lose that card, but again, it's just the one. Does not hurt you all that badly. All right, let's get those away. So yeah, guys, I think that about does it for my explanation on the whole Pendulum Summoning mechanic. Now, oh wait, there is one more. There is one more thing that I almost forgot to mention. It's not really too much to a pendulum mechanic, but just something I wanted to show you quickly. Now, this is, in fact, an Xyz monster. Correct, but this is also a pendulum card. So, right now, this is really all we have, but in the future, we are going to be getting at least one Synchro Xyz monster. Not Synchro Xyz, man, where is my tongue today? A Synchro Pendulum monster. With that, so they follow the same rules. When if it gets destroyed by battle or by a card effect, keyword destroyed, and not summoning canceled, they do go face up in the extra deck just like everything else. And can be Pendulum Summoning for there by using their rank as if it were the level. Now, this one does have an effect that allows it to be in the pendulum scale as well, which I'm sure they're all going to, because you can't really have the scale here if you're not going to be able to put it up in the zone. So, okay, now I'm really done. I just wanted to show you guys that bit thing quickly. It's not really a competitive thing at the moment to have an Xyz pendulum or a synchro pendulum, but it could be in the very near future. So, just want to give you that a little bit. So, yeah. This has been my video on explaining how pendulum summoning works, and very, very soon I shall be doing my Odd Eyes Dark Magician profile for you all. It's a very fun deck, and even though it's not a tier deck per se, it can definitely defeat competitive decks and hold its own against the meta. So, I'm definitely looking forward to show you guys how I built this deck and all that good stuff. So, if you liked this video, be sure to leave a like, comment your opinions on it. Hopefully I was able to help you guys understand this a little bit better if you didn't understand it before, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Now, if you want to leave a comment saying, like, say for example, you don't really understand how synchros or Xyz work, these have been in the game for a little bit longer than pendulums, well, for actually much longer. But if I see enough people commenting that they don't understand how it works, then I will gladly make another video explaining how those mechanics work as well. So just let me know, guys, and I will do the best I can to help out everyone out here. So this has been Magician Descendant, and I'll catch you duelists later.